What? 100th episode of the podcast. This is ridiculous. Yeah, fanfare, all the things. That's just me. Just me today. Just me. No Tommy this week. No guest this week. I just wanted to, first and foremost, thank everybody out there that's followed the podcast, been a part of the music journey, used my music in whatever production or whatever online videos and social media or whatever. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is working, it is gaining traction, and I love every minute of it. And I love everything you're doing with it. It's so much fun to see what people do with the tracks that I create, and very exciting stuff. It's been a wonderful journey so far. Almost 5 years. It's been almost 5 years. There's some albums and some things that I published prior to this, but come August of this year, it'll be 5 years that I got real serious and started to publish on a regular basis, multiple albums a year, multiple compilations of things. And I ramped it up, a couple years back, and last year was nuts. 275 tracks it's the reason I've had this big hiatus. I did put out one album, the Arc Raiders homage album this year, which was a lot of fun to make. And it just happened to be the video game I was playing this year in the spring, and it was really exciting. The sounds and the software that I used for it was very reminiscent of the soundtrack of that game, and it was a lot of fun to make. And I have a bunch of other ideas that I'm going to be getting to. So to date, it's been 1,011 songs. I have a massive review planned for this weekend, so I'm basically just kind of probably ordering in this weekend and just sitting by my hard drive here and going, okay, here's Notepad, or iOS Notepad probably, so I can digitize everything, but literally take every genre and take a bunch of tracks, and the ones that I think look like they've got potential so far, export a bunch of those, go on a really long walk this weekend, listen to them all, take some notes, that kind of thing. I'm not doing it in batches because I probably have over 200 active projects that are in my hard drive right now. And for anybody out there that doesn't write music or is not like super artistic in the sense of this, like this, or visual arts or whatever, when you have like 200 projects active, it sounds ridiculous. It's like, but you never finish anything. No, the idea is literally, I do these ideation periods, like these Monday, Friday days where I just throw down ideas. Sometimes don't revisit them for months. And it's because I'm not working on that genre for some reason. I'm just kind of slapping down whatever I can and making sure I don't forget it, because things come up and I just don't, for whatever reason, I can only take it so far. And then you let it kind of sit and marinate for a while, and you come and revisit it and you get inspired by the thing that you've done before. And then suddenly you have a way to finish it and to bring it to the end and publish it and actually do something with the piece. I imagine that's similar to some visual art with people. I've done some drawing of my own, and I know that there's some things that I've put down. It's kind of hard for me, though. I always felt like if I put something down that I drew, it's kind of like a one and done thing for me. I need to start and finish it that same day and not come back to it. Maybe I should give myself the flexibility to do that in the future. I think I draw more. It's been a few years since I've done that. But at any rate, that's basically what I'm going to do this weekend. I'm going to revisit all that stuff, do a massive review. Then third and fourth quarter, there's going to be more activity on socials as far as new albums coming out, a lot of promotions and everything. It's been kind of quiet. I did have some leftovers from last year that I was able to fill in the first and part of the second quarter this year. But new tracks coming out has been kind of a slow pace to a crawl to nothing. And I want to get back into that saddle and into that routine, because that routine really keeps me motivated. It keeps the engine flowing forward. So every time I'm producing something, it's giving me new ideas on how to expand the reach of the catalog, get more songs doing work. And that's really the goal of this whole endeavor. It's just to do massive work with a lot of different genres and a lot of different tunes. So coming down to the podcast, it'll be 3 years, August 23rd, which amazes me, considering I had a couple of gaps in the whole podcasting time frame. It's interesting to me that, hitting this milestone of 100 episodes. Now, it's 100 full-length episodes, and honestly, I have 5 or 6 that I still have to edit. So technically this is getting inserted in between all those before those get published, because I have enough, I think I have enough interviews and episodes to go through most of July. So it's been kind of exciting to say the least. This second quarter this year has had an uptick in guests, people I've never spoken to before, people that have actually reached out to me to be on the show. That's a new thing. That's a new milestone that I'm very excited about. Have people seek you out and be on your show. Great, So very excited about that. There'll be about 40 to 50 TKFM quick hits by the time we hit the 3-year milestone, as well as over 100 episodes. So we're probably looking at probably 115 episodes by the time August comes around. I think that's the right amount of weeks, something like that. 115, 120. So very excited about that. Very excited about the response to the show. There's a lot more interest, a lot more downloads of it and everything. So those metrics keep ticking up, which is fun. It's fun to see that. More interviews this year than the other 2 combined. So, and it's only almost half done. So that's really exciting. That's an exciting little thing. And there's another announcement here. We're making a new dedicated website for the podcast. Liz and I, my social media manager, we're building a Wix site specifically for the podcast. Eventually have a social peel off as well. So there'll be dedicated social media channels that are just for the podcast. Everything will always come back to the Tim Kulig brand. The main website will always have links out to everything. But ultimately, it's come to a point where the podcast has got it's kind of grown its own legs, and it's got its own life and anima, and I kind of want to see where it's going to go, and continue growing it and continue expanding it, and see how big I can make it. And in order to do that, I need to give it its own space. So I decided to do that a few weeks back, and we've been focused on really getting the design right and focusing on that. Within the next couple of weeks, there'll be some social media promotions, basically to show where the spinoff is. I've already kind of pointed to it on YouTube. I've done a new dedicated YouTube channel for it. It's got the archive. The archive's still and always going to be on the main YouTube channel for myself, but now I'm going to be pushing those episodes to this new channel. Algorithmically, it just makes sense. Right up until now, a lot of my socials have been kind of a kitchen sink. It's a combination of my music, the podcast, and movies and everything else I'm doing. It's time to start peeling some of those away so that algorithmically channels like YouTube know where to put me and know who to suggest to me. Right now, it's shorts for music, it's the podcast, it's shorts for the podcast, and it makes it very difficult for a platform like that to suggest me to certain places. So I kind of have to do the administrative thing on the back end and be like, well, maybe it needs its own thing. So now's the time to do that. So we're doing that. We're also split off socials and all that. So more to come on that in the coming weeks as we finalize the first draft and the first round of the website, get some feedback on that, probably tweak it a little bit. Again, it is a Wix site, so it'll be easy to, or I said easier to manage and make adjustments to. It's very templated, and if you've ever built a site with Wix, it's pretty cool. It's pretty handy. New music. So again, yes, I'm doing that review this weekend, and that felt like a mantra this year. It's like, yep, more music's coming. Wait. Yep, more music's coming. Wait. It's just weird. It's weird coming out of a year where you produced and published a tune almost every day. And that was just a bizarre, but I didn't think I had that level of productivity in me, and I didn't realize what it would take out of me. And it took a lot. Writing that Arc Raiders album this year, it just kind of happened organically. Outside of that, I've had a bunch of ideas, but I just can't bring them across the finish line because I was just in this space of like, let's look at all the administrative stuff. Let's take a breather. You created a lot. So this year, my number is probably going to be somewhere between 100 and 150 tracks published, unless I do a bunch of specific subgenre stuff that I'll get to in a minute. But you got that one album in the second quarter, I think, is when I published the Arc Raiders one, and that was 11 tracks. So that's what put us over. That's what put me to the 1,011. In addition to that, this weekend will determine what the third and the fourth quarter will be. And I'm going to plan out various genre albums based on what I determine is workable items and things I could develop. And I'll be planning all that stuff out. And like I said, probably not the volume of last year, but I will have my old standards, my orchestral, horror, meditation, electronic, various ones like Glitch and everything else. There's some new guys on the horizon. Some surf rock. Gonna play around with that. That sounds exciting. Warhammer 40K marches. That's a very, very specific subgenre, but I've already got 3 or 4 tracks of that in the wings. Frequency-based meditation tracks, specifically dealing with like solfeggio frequencies and incorporating those into meditation pieces, which is really exciting. It's very popular, and it's something I never really experienced and explored. I've done binaural beats, which I've talked about that in the past, but this one is very specific. This is kind of putting an undertone of a specific frequency and using that as the foundation of the meditation tracks. And it's supposed to do things with healing properties and chakras and all that kind of stuff. And I'll get more into it as I get into it and publish those. Meme tracks. So what does this mean? A lot of stuff that I do either has the energy out of the gate or it has a lot of lead up. And I oftentimes do a lot of tracks with a lot of lead up because I like to give people the option of something that builds or to just get into the nitty gritty. And you can see that on the website. When you go to the website and you see the waveform algorithm, you can see where there's like dips and everything. And editors know to scrub music and be like, oh, okay, here's an event. I can look here and I can see if things like really like drive, some emotion here or whatever. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do, in addition to some of these other subgenres this year, is create meme tracks, stuff that right out of the gate on social media is like, it hits the note in the beginning of the video, especially considering with shorts, reels, TikToks, that kind of thing, you've got to convince people within the first 3 to 5 seconds to watch this thing. I'm going to focus really strongly on a couple different genres coming out of the gate, super strong and super interesting. And that's going to be a challenge because it's going to be like, I'll probably write a minute of music and then decide to start it like a minute and a second into it, because that's where the energy like hits the mark. So there's whole bands that have this theory and have been doing this for years, mainstream bands that start with a chorus for that same reason. They literally come out of the gate with like the most energetic part of the song. So, but I think it'll function and work itself well into adding to the catalog. They're like, this is stuff that's just boom. You want energy, you want high energy, you want something like drive that, say the thing right out of the gate. Here you go. You don't have to search for it. You don't have to scrub for it. Here's the thing, right? In addition to that, I've been screaming about this forever. Podcast beds, D&D beds. I'm still getting a ton of usage out of Here Be Dragons and Bugbears Be Approaching. Those 2 tracks get a lot of use on D&D campaigns. They've also been out there. They're the D&D tracks that have been out there the longest from my catalog. So it makes sense. They've been baking into the internet long enough that more and more people will use them because they've just been out longer. But I want to put a bunch more stuff out like that is going to work for campaigns. And I've got several different campaigns on YouTube that use my stuff pretty regularly. So I feel like I need to cater to that and give new, fresh stuff for new campaigns. People don't want to reuse the stuff over and over again. Some of the stuff is, Here Be Dragons has got a really cool hook to it, and people seem to like that. And the Bugbears one is just a nice bed. It's almost, I think it's like 14 minutes long. So, and it doesn't evolve too much. It adds elements into the actual thing, but it has the same feeling the whole time. And that's really important when you're doing a campaign, when you're doing an art, a tabletop RPG, and you don't want this thing to evolve too much because you're like in the middle of like rolling for battles and everything. So, an initiative and everything, you want a thing in the background, and you're not going on a journey. It's just kind of, this is a feeling, and you want to keep that feeling alive for a while. And anything else that makes sense as far as beds are concerned, I'm gonna focus on that this year as well. Lots of ideas, been stuck in administrative, man. I've had to I've had to really take a look at where I've been. Like 1,000-song milestone last November really cuts in a way that is positive, but it also reminds you that you should take pause and look back, because I was so focused on this goal and this milestone that once you get it and once you get to the top of the mountain, there's always the risk of like, well, what's next, right? Well, the next 1,000. Well, why, right? What else do you have to say? I know I have tons to say, but I almost forced myself to take pause because I knew I'd created a body of work that, all things being equal, if I stopped, it's still enough to promote for years to come. But I got a lot more to say. I got a lot more things to say. Just like this podcast, I've got a lot more to say. I've got a lot more people to interview. Got a lot more people that I'm interested in. A lot more things I want to talk about with the movies and everything else that I'm doing with Tom Seymour. Literally, like, just so much fun stuff. But it was time to like take another look back at everything that's been happening so far, how things are, proceeding, what is working with videos, what isn't, what advertising is working, because there's been some targeted advertising, some advertising to get website traffic and everything else. And, you can only throw money at things and throw things out there for so long before you have to like kind of take time out. Let's see what's working. We don't want to waste time or effort or money on anything that doesn't make sense. That's not building towards the ultimate goal, which is catalog reach expansion, and making sure that the brand is visible and people are aware of it and it's something they want to use. So getting that feedback as well. Revisiting socials again, just what's working, what's not, what style of videos are working and what kind of posts people are responding to. It's really surprising to me. Sometimes you think a certain post is going to kick off and you get all excited about it, and then you get very little to no interaction with it. And then you have one where you throw a picture of yourself up there and you just have, I don't know, just an honest conversation like this where you're just kind of talking stream of consciousness. And then you have the most incredible feedback from people because it resonates with them for some reason. And I think that's it. I think that authenticity kicking in sometimes when you're just like at a moment and you just decide to do a quick post on something with a image that supports the feeling of that. It's an art, man. I've been doing this social media thing for a few years now in relation to the brand and everything. And I still feel like I'm a novice. You just don't know what works, what doesn't, a tiny fraction of the people that interact with it at all and see it actually interact with it and thumb it up or comment on it. So, because I'm guilty of it too. If I'm doom scrolling and I'm like watching stuff, there's plenty of things I watch I don't respond to, I don't interact with or like or whatever, or even comment on. And I probably liked 3/4 of the things I went past. But like, if you stop to do and interact with everything, it's, you wouldn't consume nearly what you would consume by being online. So it's a weird ecosystem. It really is. It totally is. But I'm also doing new sub channels on YouTube. I found that, to get a further reach of the catalog, what really needs to happen is to have some genre specific channels. I feel like YouTube, that ecosystem in particular, is really sensitive to a kitchen sink channel like mine. And I don't mind the fact that mine's kitchen sink and I have a history there and it's pretty cool and it's had its interactions and everything and people have found me from there. And I've been able to drive website traffic from videos on there. But I think it's time, again, just like with the podcast, it's time to take some of the subgenres of music like horror and orchestral and meditation, peel off individual sub-channels and start promoting those specifically there, because YouTube really, really loves it when you're hyper specific about what your audience should be and what you're trying to deliver. And when you offer stuff that's like short form, all on that, it'll start, once you're consistent, pushing you to the right people and algorithmically you finding your audience and your voice with people. Whereas, the kitchen sink channel is my ultimate brand, but it's time to kind of organize a little better. And I think that'll give the catalog itself a better reach. So that's exciting. And last but not least, the website. The website's been going strong and well for the last year and a half, thanks to Ryan and Michelle and their awesome work on that website. I freaking love it. And we're going to be expanding into standard licenses and song packs and a shopping cart for both. So song packs are just, it's a convenience model where somebody can just come in and are like, I want all your horror. Well, for a flat fee, you can just download a zip file of all of them together, and the fee helps the cost of the website, the bandwidth or whatever, because going in and downloading a terabyte of something or whatever, I don't even know how big it would be, but however expansive it is, it does taste some juice, and it will increase my cost. So it's negligible. It's a small fee for those, but also the standard licenses. If you want to do something with the channel, you have a channel on YouTube and you don't want to be bothered with putting the attribution into the show notes, then literally you can buy a standard license as a flat fee, and then I can just tell Frequency to whitelist your channel for that particular track, and you're good to go. So if you're one of those channels that has like news on it and stuff like that, and that you're relegated to only so many characters in the description, and you don't want to muddy it up with all that, then that's a solution there as well. So that's coming as well, and very excited to have that as an option. Now, I did have it before when I was hosting on a now defunct site, and it was cool to have. It was cool to have as an option. It wasn't always, people didn't always take up on it, but when they did, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, there is a need for this out there, so that's great. So that's basically it. Happy 100th episode. Thanks for checking me out. Thanks for sticking along for the ride. Hope you keep sticking along, and send me your inquiries or your interest and tracks you might be looking for, or just some feedback in general on the things I'm doing and anything like that. Tim@timkulig.com. Real simple. If you know who I am, Tim@timkulig.com. And next 2 quarters promise to be more exciting with more releases and exciting set of plans for the coming years ahead of me. So stay tuned.